And hello YouTube, this is GSmaniamsmart, and I'm today with another brand new video for tutorials with GS. Today we're going to be talking about Photoshop and how to create some 3D text, and specifically 3D text that is extruded. So basically what this will do is make your text look like it's coming out, make it look pretty blocky. And in this example here that I have on my screen right now, this is actually the banner that I have for my YouTube channel right now. And as you can see, the text looks really 3D. It looks blocky. It looks like it's basically standing on top of the picture. And this is what I'm going to be showing you how to do. You can have it as this style. There's plenty of ways you could make it look. I'm going to show you how to adjust the camera angles and all that good stuff. So here's an example. Let's go ahead and close that out. And the first thing you want to do, as always, is go up to File, New, and we're going to go ahead and create a 800 by, let's go 800 by 400. So there we go. Now, what I do suggest you do is that if you're creating some text for a specific design or for a banner, I would suggest that you create your text layer first in a separate project, because the camera angles could be a bit confusing with the layers behind. But if you're pretty confident how to do this, or if you see that it's not too difficult, then you can just use the text layer within the project of your design. But for me, it's always been easier just to create text first. But anyway, first thing you want to do is go ahead and click your text tool right here on the left side, and I'm gonna go ahead and type something in. Let's just type in YouTube. That's always generally a good example to use. One thing that I would suggest you do is use large text. This is another reason why I advise you to create your text in a separate project, because you can always scale it down some, and you always want to work with large text because it'll make it higher quality. You can see what you're doing more, and you can add more detail to it. So I'm using 125 as a size. So now that we have this, it just looks like regular text. If you wanted to, you could change the color of this, but I will be showing you how to color your 3D text after you want to add some textures. But you know, just for the sake of the tutorial, let's go ahead and make this a dark blue, like so. But generally, I would use some textures. I'm going to show you how to add some textures to your 3D text as well. So now that we have our text, you want to go and highlight it all. Actually, you don't even need to highlight. What you want to do is go ahead and select your layer on the right side here in your layers panel. Select your layer, and then we're going to go up to the 3D menu, and you want to click New 3D Extrusion from selected layer. Now what this will do is basically extrude your text just like this so that it looks 3D. As you can see, our color is still there, and you basically get this grid. You are now on an XYZ plane, and don't be scared, it's not too complicated. It's pretty easy to use. If you basically hold your left mouse button down and move it around, you can basically change the camera on how you want your text to look. This will be how your text is shown in the image. Now, what I want to do is, well, first I'm going to show you what you can do with this piece of text, how you can manipulate it. And the first thing I'm going to show you is, you see how thick this text is? If you wanted to change the thickness of this text, it's very easy. What you do is, first of all, this properties box right here, if you click it, this will pop up. And what you want to do here in your 3D menu right here, in this 3D dialog box, you want to go ahead and click your text name, which is, mine is YouTube, yours is probably something else. And when you click this, you'll see all these options. Now, in extrusion depth here, you can move this up and down, and as you can see, this changes the thickness of it and changes how far or how near extruded this text is. For me, I'm not going to have it too thick. I'm going to have it right about there. About 54. Let's go ahead and make that 50 actually. That looks good. If at any point you want to change what your text says, for example, if you decide you don't want to have it say YouTube, if you want to have it say something else, you don't need to recreate another text layer. What you do is you want to click Edit Source right here. This is something that I had trouble at first time, and I had to recreate stuff, but then I finally figured out how to do it. So it will basically bring you back to the original text, and you can now change it to, let's do tutorial, right? And make sure you click this checkbox at the top here, and then you can close it and make sure you click yes. And as you can see, now our text has changed to tutorial. Now if you want to get your little grid back, you can just click the move tool right here, or you can just go to your layers and click the 3D layer right here. Now what you can do, if you have your text selected, if you have it selected like that, and you start moving it around, you can now change the way the text appears. If you have it unselected, you'll be moving the camera. But if you have your text selected and you click anywhere around it, you'll be moving the actual text. Now what we're going to do, we're going to have it kind of looking down on the text. So we're going to have it, well, it can be a bit confusing to maneuver this. Let me go ahead and change the camera first. We're going to be looking up. And as you can see, one cool thing is that it automatically generates a drop shadow for you. So we're going to have it like that. As you can see, it looks very cool. It actually looks like we're looking down on this text right here. So we can also change the camera angle if we want a little bit. And if you don't like the shadow here, you can change the lighting. What you want to do is click this little white circle here, and you can basically change the lighting. It also adjusts the shadow. We're only going to have a small shadow, so we're just going to adjust the lighting just like that. The shadow is barely visible. So there we go. There's that. So if you ever want to change the lighting, you click this little white circle right here. If you want to change the camera, you don't select your text. If you select the box of your text, it will move your text around. If you want to change the camera, you click around this area right here, and as you can see, we can basically change the camera to whatever we like, and we're gonna change it to like this. This looks really cool. All right, so now the next thing that you want it to do is, if this is how you want it to look, if you don't want to add anything else, if you don't want to add any textures or anything, then you're basically done. This is basically it. You can go ahead and file, and you can save as, and you can save it as a PSD or a PNG, and you can just drag it into, you know, one of your designs. And we're gonna go ahead and show you that right now. We're actually gonna do that. So we're gonna save as, and we're gonna save it as tutorial text, like that. And if we save this, I think we saved it as a PSD. If you save it as a PSD, you'll be able to edit it, which I'm sure many of you already know. I'm going to save it as a PNG. Alright. And now, if we open one of our previous designs, let's go ahead and open our banner, which is right here. And now if we open our tutorial text, and we just grab this, drag it in here, as you can see, now we have our 3D text right here. Looks a bit small, but as you can see, nothing has changed. The shadow is still there, the blocky appearance is still there, and it looks really cool. Now, one thing that you can do is also add a texture on top of it, which is what I'm going to be showing you next. If you look over here, we have a cool little texture on here, and it makes it look really nice. I'm going to be showing you how to do that next. So we're going to go back over here. So now, I believe you can even add a stroke to this if you go back to the original text and you add a stroke before you turn it into a 3D layer. You can add a white stroke to it and it'll make it look really cool. But I'm pretty sure you know how to add a stroke, because, and if you don't know how to add a stroke, the way you do this is, let me just show you real quick. Text, and you go over here and you go up to layer and you go to, where is it, layer style, hide layers, layer style, and you can click drop shadow, outer glow, inner glow, stroke, and you can basically add a stroke. So if you wanted to add a stroke here, you could do that and then turn it into a 3D layer. But to add a texture, I'm gonna go ahead and go to open, and we already have a texture. I have a brick texture here. Now if you're looking for any texture, you can just Google, you can basically Google any textures, type in texture or Photoshop textures or brick texture, metal texture, whatever texture you want. And what you want to do is grab this in here. Now the key thing to do is to size this down, and Control T or Command T on the Mac would do that for you. And you just hold Shift, again Control Command T, you hold Shift and you basically click a little box on the edge here and drag it down. And as you can see now, it's a bit too small. Alright, so now that it's covering it like that, and to get this apply box, I just click the move tool here, apply. Now that we got that, next thing you want to do is you want to click your text layer again, your 3D text layer. You want to hold Control and you want to click. Don't click the name, click the actual layer. And as you'll see, you get a little selection around it. Next thing you want to do is click your texture layer, and you want to click select up here, click inverse, and then from here on you can grab your eraser tool right here, and we're actually going to make this a bigger size, and you can erase everything that you don't want. And you can erase all over it because it basically has your texture saved within the selected. That's what happens when you click inverse. If you don't click inverse, you're basically gonna erase everything. So now that we have our texture on top, we're gonna go ahead and this menu right here will show you these options, and you want to click overlay, and now we have this cool brick texture. Now one thing you want to be aware of is that if you are using a texture, it will basically take the color of your 3D text. So if you want to have red bricks, then you need to make your text red and not blue as we have it right now. If you want to intensify the texture a bit, what you can do is go to layers, click new adjustment layer, click brightness and contrast, and you could actually increase the brightness and the contrast, and it'll bring out the texture a bit more. Because we have this as a blue text, you'll see that this will basically, the texture will be a bit blue. So you want to be careful when you choose your colors, because your texture will be affected by it. But generally speaking, this is a general idea on how to create 3D text. If you want to have a texture on it, this is how you do it as well. And that's basically it. Just remember that one thing you do want to make sure is that when you use a texture, you want to make sure that you use an overlay. There are other ways, there are other options. You could put it on soft light, even hard light, even. You know, you can play around with these layer modes and see which one you like. Sometimes soft light may be better, but I tend to go with overlay. But you know, playing around with some of these modes will definitely give you a better idea on what type of way you want to see your texture as. But that's basically it, guys. Pretty easy, pretty simple once you get the hang of it. The main thing is just to create a text layer, go up to 3D and click new 3D extrusion text, and you should be on your way. Thank you for watching, and I hope this video helped you out in any way. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. It'll really help me out. If you didn't like it, you can leave a comment as well, giving some feedback. If you have any other comments or questions, please leave them in the comments as well, and I'll do my best to answer them. I usually respond to comments within 24 to 48 hours, depending on your question and depending on how busy I am. I have plenty of other content on my channel about different software tutorials and how-to videos, so if you're interested in that type of stuff, check it out. And if you like what you're seeing, you can subscribe too. Really appreciate it. You can also check out my other channels and social media as shown on the screen right now. And with that, thank you so much, everyone. And this is GSmaniamsmart, and I'll be back sooner than you think. Don't go anywhere.